Welcome to This Explainer. Let's just dive right in, because today we're looking at the brutal, unrelenting reality of what it actually takes to keep a roof over your head here in central Oklahoma. We're going to break down some seriously fascinating data from local experts to show exactly why homes in our region face such a uniquely wild set of challenges. And more importantly, we're going to look at how you can protect your absolute biggest investment. Now, you know what's really crazy about this? It totally flips the script on how we normally think about roof damage. I mean, usually you're looking up at the sky, right? Watching the clouds, waiting for the culprit of your roof issues to fall. But the reality? That famous red clay soil shifting beneath your foundation is secretly transferring a massive amount of stress right up through the framing of your house. It literally pulls at your roof's valleys and ridgelines. It's wild, a foundational issue expressing itself at the very top of your home. But of course, the sky is obviously still a major threat. Which brings us to Section 1, the Oklahoma Weather Gauntlet, a 365-day battle. As we move through the year, you realize an Oklahoma roof literally never gets a day off. I mean, it is constantly under attack. In the spring, you've got hail pounding down, punching craters into shingles and cracking your flashing. Then summer hits, and that 100-degree heat just bakes the asphalt until it's super brittle. Come fall, severe wind gusts act like giant invisible hands, trying to tear those baked ridge caps right off. And finally, winter rolls in with brutal freeze-thaw cycles that literally split the underlayment wide open. It's just a relentless year-round assault. And the crazy thing is, the threat gets hyper-local. Depending on your exact zip code around the metro, your roof is fighting its own very specific, highly localized war. If you're over in Heritage Hills or Nichols Hills, your main enemy is that beautiful mature tree canopy dropping debris and letting moss grow. Living near Lake Hefner, well, you're dealing with sustained wind gusts that are constantly testing the pull strength of every single nail up there. Down in the Canadian River Valley, that high humidity settles in and just accelerates wooden deck rot. And up in Edmond, you are sitting smack in a high-frequency hail corridor. So, knowing those very specific threats, let's move right into Section 2, Anatomy of Roof Failure. What's actually breaking? Let's be real, there is nothing worse than looking up and seeing a terrifying water stain blooming on your living room ceiling. But when that happens, it's absolutely crucial to remember one thing. The water is almost never entering directly above that spot. Water is super sneaky, it travels. Our diagnostic analysis shows us that the true culprits are usually hidden away. The water gets in, travels along the rafters, and then finally drips onto your drywall. The actual breach? Well, it could be failed valley flashing caused by ice buildup, or maybe some wind-lifted shingles that were poorly nailed down a few years ago. It could even be those stress cracks we just talked about, caused by the shifting red clay soil. Or, honestly, it might just be older hail impacts that knocked the protective granules off, which led to rapid UV degradation from the sun baking down on it. So a massive factor in all this breakdown is something called thermal cycling. Basically, this is just the constant expansion and contraction of your roofing materials. Think about those wild Oklahoma days, right? It's baking hot in the afternoon and then freezing by nightfall. That massive temperature swing quite literally bakes and freezes the flexibility right out of your asphalt shingles. It keeps happening over and over until they develop these tiny microcracks. And eventually, they just snap. All right, enough doom and gloom for one day. Let's pivot to the solution in Section 3, the three-step solution, taking back control. By breaking the solution down into these three structured steps, you basically eliminate all the guesswork. First up is a really thorough damage assessment. This is critical because it includes rigorous documentation for your insurance. Trust me, you do not want to go toe-to-toe with insurance adjusters by yourself. Step 2 is code-compliant installation. We're not just slapping some new shingles up there. This means using upgraded materials and very specific high-wind nail patterns. And finally, the final inspection. This guarantees you've got your warranty paperwork in hand and that your yard has been meticulously swept with a magnet to catch any stray nails hiding in your grass. Now let's talk about the actual numbers in Section 4, Roofing Codes and Costs, the Buyer's Guide. Looking at the required investment here, it all really comes down to the square footage of your home. So a standard 1,400 square foot single-level house, that's going to run somewhere between $6,000 and $12,000. Meanwhile, a larger, say 5,000 square foot home, could easily reach up to $40,000. And you got to keep in mind, labor and the actual tear-off of your old roof make up about 40 to 60% of these totals. I mean, it's tough, gritty physical work. Plus, the structural wooden decking underneath almost always requires some surprise repairs once those old shingles are finally peeled back. Now, I want you to burn this number into your brain: 110 miles per hour. That number right there is the absolute minimum code requirement for wind resistance on an OKC roof. To actually hit that target, contractors are required to use at least 6 nails per shingle in high wind zones. If your current roof was installed with anything less than that, honestly, it's basically just sitting up there waiting to be peeled off in our next big spring storm. And this comparison right here shows exactly why you absolutely have to upgrade when it's time to replace. Standard builder-grade 3-tab shingles, they will fail so rapidly in our climate, they literally just can't handle it. But Class 4 impact-resistant shingles, total game changer. They survive severe hailstorms and they boast wind resistance up to 130 miles per hour. It is an investment that actually holds up to our weather. Plus, as a really nice bonus, upgrading to Class 4 often significantly drops your homeowner's insurance premiums. So win-win. Finally, let's navigate the logistics in Section 5, Insurance and Timing, Playing It Smart. Check out this stat. The harsh reality is that a roof in OKC ages out way faster than the national average. I mean, even if you don't have an active dripping leak inside, standard asphalt shingles around here rarely make it past 18 to 22 years. By year 20, they have pretty much lost all of their critical wind resistance, mostly thanks to all that UV degradation and the brutal thermal cycling we talked about earlier. Which naturally leads to the big question literally every homeowner is asking right now. Should you just wait? Will materials and labor magically get any cheaper if you just hold off until next year?
Well, the hard truth is no. Prices just aren't dropping. Between lingering supply chain pressures and the constant year-round storm demand we have here, prices are staying elevated. But you can still play it smart. If you book your replacement in the fall when temps are sitting nicely between 50 and 75 degrees, you get the absolute perfect natural shingle ceiling. Or you can book in the winter. Contractor schedules are way lighter then, which can actually sometimes score you some pretty solid off-season discounts.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to think about this for a second. Knowing that your roof is actively fighting a two-front war against the shifting clay soil down below and the violent storms up above, is your home truly prepared? I want you to take a look up at your roof this week. Check your gutters for those loose granules. Just ask yourself where you stand. Because in Oklahoma City, the next storm isn't a possibility, it's a guarantee. And it's always just around the corner. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive, and I'll catch you in the next one.